Okay, gang, it's somewhere around November 6th, and my niece is getting married right after Christmas this year, and she asked to have a cross made for her ceremony. And it's going to be something that they can assemble and then lock together, and it shows their relationships. And so what I have here is some leftover material from the actually from the Mustang project. This is the carrier for the floor, and in an earlier video I made a bed stand out of most of it, but I had this much left over, so I'm going to make this cross thing, and it's going to be something that can be assembled, and just thought you might want to see it. So here we go. Okay, that gives you the idea of cross dimensions. This is something I picked up off the internet, of course. Looks like a 1:3 ratio. Pretty simple. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to go with a 40-inch centerpiece, and when I'm done, this will actually be two pieces they're going to thread together. I'll show you that when I get to that point. But now I'm trying to figure out how I want the arms to look. So based on that scale, the overall width needs to be 20 inches. So I've got a 2-inch center beam, so each one of these needs to be 9 inches. Well, I started cutting these, and I didn't like the way it looked because I don't like the square ends. So let me show you this. I've decided that I'm going to taper it. And of course, you know, when you're building things, I don't generally look up techniques, or I don't know, I just come up with ideas on my own most of the time. So what I did is I lopped off these corners, and I measured off 1 inch from the top down to this point, and then basically 1/2 inch from edge in on both sides. I think it's going to work out pretty good. Once I cut out those pieces, then it was just a bunch of these little corners. Then I tapped it in with a hammer, and when I'm done, I'll weld these edges, and I'll also make a little plate and block that off. I just didn't want a big square, or flat end. I wanted it to taper and kind of look like wood, would have been cut or tapered down. So I'll just keep going and show you how it goes. Okay, so I've finished up the initial design, and here's what I come up with for assembling the two halves together. I basically notched the edges here. I made a plate, and then I made little tabs, and you can see there where they drop into the cutouts. I welded in on the longer leg a bolt. Now I'm going to trim that down. It's just long because that's the length of the bolt. But the idea is that you thread these two together. Now when I put this piece on, I set this piece on top opposite so that the edges rested on this edge here. And what that did is it squared that plate, so you can see that plate is really square in this tubing. And then when I had that piece set, I took this piece, set it on top, and made sure it was square, and I welded the bolt or the nut to the inside, and then I also squared it. You can see here this is really flat. So the idea is take these two pieces and you just thread them together. Now the only problem I had was the first time I did this, the nut changed shape because I got it really hot, and I couldn't get it apart, so I had to start over. But there's that, back to being one piece. Now the next phase, what I'm going to do is, here's the arm, one of the arms. That's going to go right over that split seam like that. And I've been kind of come up with different ideas, but what I'll probably do is create a tab here, and it'll allow me to hook that into a slot, rotate it down, and then I'll have a couple of plates on the front of these, and they'll be flat like angle iron, and then they can put two locks in there. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, So this is pretty close to being my final layout design of this cross thing that my niece wanted. And I'll just show you how this works. I'll lean this forward a little bit. I don't know if you can see it or not. There's two holes right here. And the idea is that they'll put in a lock on either side of that, showing their relationship. But I built this thing to be taken apart or put together as a symbolic thing. So let me just show you. The arms rotate and it'll stay there. What I did is I took a piece of this material, made a little angle bracket, and laid basically the thickness of the material inside of that, and when I welded it. Hope that makes sense. But what I wanted to do was have a gap here at the bottom, and then I cut a slot on the side. And as this works, one of them will take this piece first and put it in the slot, and that locks over, and then the other one will put on this side, and then they can put in their locks. Now I think I showed earlier also that the top half of this is threaded, so this will unscrew and create a third piece, and then again that'll lock in, and I think that makes sense. Show you one more time. And you know, I always do car stuff, but I love fabrication. I love coming up with designs and ideas. And I may even add, if you look at the bottom there, there's a base I'm going to use. I don't know yet. I may make that to where the whole assembly locks in to that base, like you would set it and turn it and lock it. I'm not sure yet. One way or another, the main body of it will sit on the base. So next step is to clean it up, get some paint on it, and that's done.